really strongly against it, vehemently against it.
And just 4 hours from now, a controversial shelter in Northwest Portland's Pearl District is set to open its doors to the community for the first time. It comes just days after the site was vandalized and amid sharp criticism from some neighboring families and business owners. The shelter is at Northwest 14th and Northrup, just east of I-405 and a few blocks west of Union Station and Nadeau Parkway. There are several other sites that serve the homeless population in the Pearl District already, including a safe rest village, day shelters, and a navigation center, only some of which are run by the city. Neighbors have told Katu they feel the area is becoming oversaturated with resources. Good afternoon. Thanks so much for joining us for KT News at 4. I'm Deborah Knapp.
And I'm Steve Dunn. Over the next 5 minutes, we're going to break down the controversy over this site, crime data we have obtained about the areas near other new shelters, and the status of Portland Mayor Keith Wilson's promise to end homeless camping in the city before the end of the year.
K2's Thanvi Verma joins us live outside the shelter right now. So Thanvi, some people have made it clear they don't want it there.
Yeah, they did, Deb. In fact, the city of Portland folks who are running this shelter say there was anti-shelter graffiti. And when we spoke to people in the community, they also shared some anti-shelter sentiment. Starting off, this will be a place for up to 40 people to lay their heads at night. By October, that number will rise to 100, and then eventually it'll be 200. But with more beds comes less excitement from the residents that we spoke to.
Our neighborhood has really been hit hard over the last 5 years with fentanyl, with crime, with broken windows, endless broken windows, lots of fentanyl, defecation on the sidewalks. This shelter's just going to make it so much worse.
Too much of any one group of people in an area for the purpose of treating them when they need treatment is just too much for your average community. But that's why I say spreading out the services is so important.
Though the city says the community will actually become even better, in part because they'll be providing resources that'll help shelter goers get their lives back on track. On Wednesday, the city will open up a day center on 6th and Glisan. Shelter goers can take the streetcar to get access to a slew of resources.
Some behavioral health addiction services, housing services that we're trying to get in and get people into, things like identification development. So one of the things that we have had pretty significant problems with this population of homeless folks is not having ID. And that really is a barrier to being able to apply for grants, apply for Medicaid.
And coming up at 5 p.m., why some business owners tell us they're scared this place is going to hurt their bottom line. Reporting live in the Pearl District, Thanvi Verma, K2 News.
Thanvi, thank you. K2's on your side giving you context on how the city is managing this new shelter and others like it. The shelter's co-ed. It'll have 40 beds to start, up to 100 beds by October, and it is a low-barrier shelter, which means it does not require sobriety, though drugs are prohibited. The Northrup Shelter will also use a reservation system. That's where people are guaranteed their bed from the night before for the next night. The city says people are discouraged from lining up more than an hour before it opens every night at 8. It'll close at 6 a.m. the next day. And the city, excuse me, the city has engagement area that extends 1,000 feet from the shelter in all directions. Within that area, the city says it's working to clear unsanctioned campsites, clean up garbage, hazardous materials, and graffiti within 5 days of a report.
We can tell you that earlier this year, the city opened 2 other overnight shelters, one in Old Town, the other in North Portland. Data from Portland police found fewer crimes reported within 1,000 feet of the overnight shelters in Old Town and Humboldt areas in the 6 months after they opened compared to the 6 months prior. In other words, the data suggests opening emergency overnight shelters did not lead to increased crime in a neighborhood. In fact, PPB's analysis indicates a positive shift in crime reduction. Now, critics will argue that has to do with a reduction in crime reports and not crime itself. Last month, Portland Mayor Keith Wilson said he encourages everyone to report crime when they do see it.
As we mentioned, Mayor Wilson is striving to end unsheltered homelessness in the city by the end of the year. He's trying to create 1,500 overnight shelter beds by December 1st. He wants to open another 20 shelters in the next few months and is promising more resources in neighborhoods with overnight shelters to help keep crime in check. The city will have added 630 shelter beds since the start of the year. once this new site is at full capacity.
We want to know what you think about all this. What do you think about the city's efforts to handle homelessness? We're asking this question. How would you feel about an overnight shelter in your neighborhood? Would you not want it there? Would you prefer just a daytime shelter, not overnight, or would you welcome a shelter? You can weigh in. Look at the 86% right here said wouldn't want one near my home. Use the QR code in your screen there. You can find the question with our article about the shelter on our website as well.
Nobody is anti-shelter, but everybody is anti this shelter.
I'm very concerned about what this is going to do to our business.
Now on K2 News at 5, a controversial new homeless shelter set to open its doors in just 3 hours. That's despite pushback from neighbors and business owners who worry this will hurt their bottom lines. Good evening. Thanks for staying with us, everybody. I'm Steve Dunn.
And I'm Deborah Knapp. We've been telling you about this shelter for weeks now. The new Northwest Northrup overnight shelter is located in the Pearl District at Northwest 15th Avenue. As K2's Tanvi Varma joins us live now, Tanvi, city and business owners are not seeing eye to eye.
Yeah, Deb, they're not. So basically, this place will eventually be able to hold up to 200 people. Business owners say it's going to attract more homeless people into the community, whereas the city says they're already here.
Here is a homeless person that came in and said that they now own the fields.
That's one of several incidents the owner of the Fields Bar and Grill, Jim Rice, tells us that he's had to deal with.
It cost us over $150,000 in damages between the break-ins and all the damages. I know it's at least that much.
So when it comes to the new Northrup shelter coming just blocks away, he's scared about the impact it could have on his business.
And it's going to overwhelm the area from a crime perspective, from people not feeling safe. It's not actually going to deal with the problem.
Blocks away, another business with the same concern, the Body Vox Dance Company.
I've had people wandering down the streets naked with a brick, like looking, like they're not up to any good. I've had people loitering outside my building. Why you have to plunk an overnight shelter down in the middle of what is trying to be one of the engines of recovery.
So we brought those concerns to the city. Some business owners are saying, why pick an area this densely populated with so many businesses rather than an industrial area? What do you guys say to that?
So like I said, we're looking at locations all across the city. Individuals experiencing homelessness also need the same services that anybody else needs. Access to grocery stores, access to medical facilities.
The city also answering another concern. Some have said they're worried that people staying in the shelter won't have anywhere to go in the afternoon. The city says on Wednesday it'll have a day center open for people to get access to rehabilitative resources right off of 6th and Glisan.
Some behavioral health addiction services, housing services that we're trying to get in and get people into, things like identification development. So one of the things that we have had pretty significant problems with this population of homeless folks is not having ID. And that really is a barrier to being able to apply for grants, apply for Medicaid.
And coming up at 6 p.m., we speak to someone who's waiting for her spot at the shelter, why she says it's a relief. Reporting live in the Pearl District, Tanvi Varma, K2 News.
Tanvi, thank you. Now, this new overnight-only shelter is part of a larger effort from the Portland mayor to end unsheltered homelessness. His goal is to create 1,500 overnight-only shelter beds by December. Once this new site reaches full capacity, the total number so far this year will be 630. That's less than half of his goal, with only a few months left to go in the year.
Here's a look now where all those emergency overnight shelters are located. The Northrup is the first in Northwest Portland. There's one in North Portland, two in Southwest, and one in Southeast Portland. Stay with K2 for continuing coverage as the city adds more.
And we want to hear from you tonight. Point your phone camera at the QR code on your screen. Tell us, how would you feel about an overnight shelter in your neighborhood? Would you be against it, prefer just a daytime shelter, or do you welcome it? Right now, overwhelming 82% say they would not want one near my home.
Now, on the hotly debated opening of the Northwest Northrup Shelter in the Pearl District. We told you about the concerns that residents have about that opening.
But people are really looking forward to its opening some, and we're not just talking about the city, we're also talking about the people who will be getting a place to rest their head at night. Here's K2's Tanvi Varma with the story.
Tonight, this place will hold up to 40 people, and eventually it'll be able to hold up to 200. And for one woman, that's a great feeling.
Feels good. I tried staying outside in Vancouver, and it was cold, and I was hungry, and the people kept calling the cops that they were worried about somebody being in a wheelchair out by herself. And so it's kind of nice to know I at least have one night where I can sleep on a bed.
Starting off, this will be a place for up to 40 people to lay their heads at night. By October, that number will rise to 100, and then eventually it'll be 200. But with more beds comes less excitement from the residents that we spoke to.
Our neighborhood has really been hit hard over the last 5 years with fentanyl, with crime, with broken windows, endless broken windows, lots of fentanyl, defecation on the sidewalks. This shelter's just going to make it so much worse.
Though the city says the community will actually become even better, in part because they'll be providing resources that'll help shelter goers get their lives back on track. On Wednesday, the city will open up a day center on 6th and Glisan. Shelter goers can take the streetcar to get access to a slew of resources.
Some behavioral health addiction services, housing services that we're trying to get in and get people into, things like identification development. So one of the things that we have had pretty significant problems with this population of homeless folks is not having ID. And that really is a barrier to being able to apply for grants, apply for Medicaid.
Be sure to join us at 11 p.m. as our Nightside team recaps night 1 of the shelter. In the Pearl District, Tanvi Varma, K2 News.
We want to know what you think about the city's efforts to handle homelessness. Take out your phone, scan the QR code on your screen with your camera. We're asking, how would you feel about an overnight shelter in your neighborhood? Would you want it there? Not want it there? Do you prefer a daytime shelter, not overnight? Or would you welcome the shelter? Again, you can weigh in by using the QR code on your screen. You can also find this question with the article on our website at ka2.com.